In this video, let's take a look real quick at the Chewy chart, okay? Because there's something going on here I want to explain to y'all. Do you see the stair stepping down that it took yesterday? All right, we're going to talk about this price action right here. What happened was it was revealed during the night that Roaring Kitty had purchased 9,001,000 shares of Chewy. That caused the price of Chewy to rocket, okay? And then once it hit 35, but if we look at it in the extended hours, we can see that it went as high as 35, around 35.30, all right? And then they pushed it down like they did here. People, this technique that they used on Chewy is called spoofing, okay? What spoofing is when it hit 35 and they knew that this bitch was gone, they put in an order for, say, 5 million shares at 32 to sell. Well, the algorithm sees that sale for 5 million shares at 32, so it begins to adjust itself and move down towards that number. Now, before it hits 32, they retract the offer. They say, we don't want to sell at 32. We want to sell at 30. When they readjust and say we want 5 million shares to sell at 30, the algorithm begins to move downwards to that price to get the orders filled for the people. This is how they're manipulating supply and demand. Algorithm and the markets believe that people are not interested in the shares. They're selling them off, and they move the price on down to 5 million shares to sell at 25, and you get down to the bottom right here. This is what's called spoofing, okay? It's the same thing Northwest Biotherapeutics claims that Citadel Securities and Virtue and other market makers and exchanges drove down the shares of their stock price through spoofing, okay? Like I explained it over here. Now, you would think that all they have to do now is go into the CAT system and look from this time period to this time period and look for evidence of spoofing, right? Wrong. They asked for an exception and it was granted to them by the SEC. Check this out. On May 20th, 2024, just a few weeks ago, they asked the SEC for an exemption, and the SEC granted it, and this is the report for it right here. Order granting a temporary conditional exemption pursuant to Section 36A1 of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934 and Rule 608 of Regulation National Market System, NMS, under the Exchange Act relating to, now listen, reporting of responses to requests for quotes and other solicitation responses provided in a standard electronic format. All right. Now, we've talked about this, and it slipped under the radar until now, spoofing whenever Northwest Bio has accused them of it, and now I see it in Chewy. I can look back at this exemption that they gave the market makers and the exchanges that says that they don't have to report quotes. That their argument was, we're just asking what a quote is, and we're not making an order, so if you're tracking the orders, then you don't need the quotes. And so the SEC agreed with them and said, okay, don't worry about the quotes, just tell us every time you purchase or sell a stock, it needs to go into the CAT system. So what that done was, it exempted them from having to report into the CAT system whenever they put into the national market system a quote of, say, 32 for Chewy when it's at 35. They don't have to report that they did that. All right? And when if the Chewy moves down to 32 and they remove that sale order that they have there and they put it as a 30 quote for 5 million shares to sell at 30, they don't have to report that quote. They've been given an exemption by the SEC. Now, I'm not saying that the SEC is part of this corruption. We all, and I mean all of us, Bigum's thing is I don't like his voice but he's super intelligent when it comes to this kind of stuff, and he missed it, I missed it, and all the other YouTubers missed it, all right, that when they were requesting for an exemption to not have to put their quotes in, we missed the fact that they were going to be able to hide their spoofing activity. So, there you go. There's your update. That's why Chewy ran down, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it because they don't have to report that data to the CAT system. And the next video I got coming up is the curious case of Roaring Kitty. You don't want to miss that video. That's going to be crazy. See you in the next video. Love y'all. Be blessed.